Hi everyone, it's Comic Artist Pro Secrets. My name is Ethan Van Sciver. I am your host and an artist for DC Comics for a long time, but I want you to think of me as just a humble ink and superhero merchant. And I am at my service here to sell you my wares. Today we're going to talk about a big one. This was an incredibly big one. And, there were benefits to doing this and consequences as well much later. And we'll talk about all that. This is Green Lantern Sinestro Core Special, number 1. So, after the runaway success of Green Lantern Rebirth, and it was very successful. I mean, it was, at this point, it was reprinted in a hardcover that was sold out. It went to a second printing, and then so many different printings in trade paperback. I can't even keep track of them anymore. I mean, it was a massive steamroller hit that really surprised us and exceeded all of our hopes and expectations for it. And I learned a lot about Green Lantern during that time. I had a lot of questions, and Jeff answered them. And there were some questions that I think kind of came logically from learning about Green Lantern that I think nobody bothered to really ask up until that point. And one of those was, so Guy Gardner had a yellow ring, like Sinestro's ring. Sinestro has a yellow ring. How many yellow rings are there? And Jeff said, I don't know. I said, well, shouldn't there be a lot of yellow rings? I mean, there are a lot of green rings. Shouldn't there be a lot of yellow rings? And if there aren't, wouldn't Sinestro make them and then assemble a political army that ran on the religion of fear, of parallax, to oppose the Green Lantern Corps? Because he's just one man. The Green Lanterns, there are 7,200 of them at least. It just seems like the right thing for him to do would be to assemble an army. And Jeff said, And then I moved over and I was doing an arc on Superman, Batman. I think I had done maybe 3 or 4 issues of Green Lantern. I did some covers, and then I moved over to Superman, Batman. It was my chance to draw Superman. So I'm working with Mark. Oh boy, I always forget his name. That's okay. Anyway, I was working on Superman, Batman, and I was 3 issues into a 6-issue arc. It was Mark Verheiden. There you go. And Jeff called me up and said, hey, I want you to do some Green Lantern again with me. So I need you to meet with me and Pete on the phone. We're going to talk about it. Again, I mean, I'd meant to do this, to finish this 6-issue Superman, Batman arc, but it really wasn't going well. In my opinion. We'll talk about that. We'll go over that arc, and in another video. And so I got on the phone with Pete Tomasi and Jeff Johns, and they said, "Hey, we're gonna do this thing called Sinestro Core," and I said, "Oh, good, you're gonna do it." and Pete was like, "Yeah," and it's like Sinestro's gonna form his own army, his own corps, and we want to do a special. We want you to launch it. We want you to. I think I had to redesign. I have to go back. I have to remember all of this because it's a little bit murky now. But Sinestro was wearing blue, and and Jeff had Sinestro. No, okay. So a yellow ring came to Batman in one of the current issues of Green Lantern, and Batman tried on the yellow ring and he got a Sinestro version of his own costume, but it was blue. Like Ivan drew it blue, and it looked like so I just basically said, look, I don't know why he's wearing blue. I think eventually there may be a blue Lantern Corps. He's a yellow lantern. He needs to be wearing yellow. And this was met with resistance. Everybody whenever you ask for something like that, I think initially some kind of change from the norm, people kind of grumble, it seems like. But if it's a good idea and it makes sense, in the end, it usually wins out. And I said, he needs to be wearing yellow and black. Those are good colors together, black and yellow. And I'll redesign it. And I took, I think, Ivan's blue costume that he designed for Batman, and I kind of spun it around and changed it, changed the cut, the belt, the shoes, and came up with this. This is a black and white version. I'm afraid I don't even have a first print of this book. I just have this. But put the symbol right on his chest, like a Green Lantern would. And I gave him this interesting thing here, and this haircut, and this demeanor. And I said to them, look, I'm basing this character. I'm changing Sinestro's whole look and the feel about him into Hitler. It doesn't mean I'm going to draw Hitler's face, but you see this blank, dead-eyed look? You see this kind of the pull down on the mouth here, the arrogance, the military haircut, rather than it used to come all the way down, and he had long hair in the back almost, kind of. It just looks stupid, especially since his head is already shaped kind of strangely. It was too much hair. So we got to shave this down, give him this. Now, when I did this, Pete Tomasi was like, okay, that's too on the nose. That's too. And I said, just let it. Yeah, it is. But it looks good, doesn't it? It looks good on him. I mean, this is kind of, it kind of brings out his character, and Pete let me do it. So we shaved the sides of Sinestro's hair and then gave him these armbands. To me, Sinestro represents an evil political ideology, an uprising against order and goodness, and the religion of willpower that the Green Lanterns kind of have kept the universe in. I mean, it's a free universe. It's free. There's still freedom. It's just Sinestro wants to rule it by fear and terror. And look, he seemed like Hitler to me, and that's not a good thing. So with his army of monstrous thugs that I was about to create, I thought this would be the beginning of a new, like, villainous dynasty, a legacy. This character would actually grow and become bigger than he ever was. I mean, he was a big character. He was on the Super Friends, but to me, he always felt silly. He felt flimsy, and now suddenly he's scary. So I was asked to do this cover, and this is Sinestro's rise to power. He's in this power pose. He's like, I see him as Caesar. He's got this kind of, halo over his head of the Sinestro Corps symbol, and behind him are his enemies, crucified by their ring hands. And this was a tribute to, it was a ripoff of this right here. My favorite comic book series from when I was a kid, Fantastic Four versus the X-Men. This, when I saw it as a child, 12, 13, really stuck with me. It was just so violent and so awful. These strange trees with spikes on them, and the X-Men hanging from them. Here we go. Same trees, and except they're being impaled not only through the ring, but the center of their symbols here, which is their heart, but also their hands. It goes from here to here. It goes from here to here to here, okay? And that's kind of how the rings are powered. So this seemed like a dreadful kind of thing, and a nice way to tribute John Bogdanove, who's one of my favorite artists. Thus, we began work on the Sinestro Corps War Special. Incidentally, the cover was running late. I really, I was working hard on this, trying to get this to look right. The Sinestro Corps were going to be very small, filling out the background here. And if you see the original lever, you'll see, there's a couple I'm starting to lay them in there. And fortunately, Pete Tomasi said, the cover's got to get in. You got to turn it in. And so we removed them digitally. And thank God that we did, because this cover to me is perfect as it is now. I was overworking it at that point. All right, so written by Jeff Johns, penciled by me, Ethan Van Sciver, and there's a backup story by Dave Gibbons in this, which is really cool. And it came out August of 2007. Now, I should also say, this when this book was finished and it was going to print, and maybe a week from its release date, I remember going to Heroes Convention in Charlotte and being on a panel with Dan DiDio there, and people asking me questions, Green Lantern related questions, and me saying, you guys, you have to get the Sinestro Core Special. When the Sinestro Core Special comes out, that question will be answered. And it was almost becoming a joke. Like, people in the audience were like, because it doesn't. Now, take away 2020 hindsight and take away history, and just picture me saying, hey, there's a Sinestro special coming out, and it's very important that you read it. It's important. It sounds silly. Most of the time, if you do a Sinestro one shot, it's going to be kind of lightweight. It's kind of fill-in material. Nobody believed me that this was going to be an important book. And a week later, they were going to be shocked. So let's open this thing up. All right, so, the thing about this is we need to be, all the subtle, all the little inspirations, the things that happened during Green Lantern Rebirth and the books that we did together, Jeff and I, need to be built upon. And that's the great thing about Jeff Johns, is that he believes in building upon legacy and history, and even small things like this. There's room to now add to it. And if we recall, Kyle Rayner in Green Lantern Rebirth #4 actually hit and scalded Sinestro with a bunch of construct arrows in the back that we could see were in the shape of a Green Lantern symbol. Now, we open up with this close-up shot of what is probably Sinestro's back, we understand, and he has a raised, ugly scar in the shape of a Green Lantern symbol. This is on his back, literally. This burden, he sees it. It's on his back. The scapegoat. This crisis of belief, which isn't helping the universe. It's now part of him scalded, so he can never forget it. Literally is his burden now. Here's a chance to draw Sinestro naked. Thank you, Jeff. On his knees, he's making this kind of worshipful kind of shape with his fingers around a yellow ring, and he's trying to light it up. He's trying to get it to work, and he's pouring everything he's got into it. He's utilizing his own fear, his own personal terror, trying to pour it into this ring to power it. Now, eventually, the fears of everyone in the universe are going to power this ring, and a central battery that, as long as the Sinestro Core is scary and people are afraid, they will always be powerful. But for now, getting this ring to work is a tremendous feat to him, because he's got to actually feel fear. And this is a man who is a Green Lantern. He was a former Green Lantern. So it's not an easy thing. Green Lanterns don't know fear. But he makes it work. He feels fear, and the ring comes to life. And you see again, we repeat this symbol over and over and over again. It's very important. The ring just kind of sparks all around him. He remembers this moment, and this was the moment of fear, confronting Hal Jordan for the first time in many years. And then here's that moment where he might know defeat, okay, at the hands of this peasant. This peon. He might know defeat now. This might be the end for him, this disgrace. It's terrifying. Okay, so that's the moment that he's drawing upon to feel fear and to power this ring. And you see it just rises into the air. Sinestro, fortunately heavily in shadow because he's naked, gets to his feet. And he puts the ring on, and he's got the power battery, and here we go. The Green Lantern Corps will change, he says, and he recites the Sinestro Corps oath for the first time. In blackest day, in brightest night, boom, his ring just lights up. This is exciting stuff. It's a great angle by me here. Really nice. Beware your fears made into light. Let those who try to stop what's right burn like my power. And then right here is the moment where Sinestro comes to life. And this is a brand new character. And everything comes from this moment here. Okay, so Sinestro's might. And people absolutely love this. And I love it too. This is really cool. It's a good job, me. A lot of just fire and smoke all around. Also, as a consequence of my past misdeeds, you have editors who are going over this with a magnifying glass, looking for hidden messages. There are none. I wouldn't do that to DC Comics. And I'd say that, but who could know if I'm being serious or if I'm just trying to cover my tracks. I wouldn't do that. They've been good to me, so I don't ever want to sell them out or let them down, if it's possible. So yeah, Sinestro Corps prologue. So this is just a prologue. Jeff sees it as the second rebirth, and again, it's this word. It's magical. It works every single time. Moose Bauman still with me on this. He did his best work on this particular issue. He colored the whole thing. I think he got overwhelmed by it. He colored the whole series that followed this, and I think he did get overwhelmed by all that work. It was a lot of detail. And we open up on, who is this? What? Zoom. Great sequence of the Justice League fighting Professor Zoom, or just Zoom. I think this is this might be Hunter Zolomon. It is Hunter Zolomon. And this is just our intro shot of Hal Jordan as he creates a bunch of chains. He wraps them around Zoom's legs. How Zoom moves so fast? Well, he wants to. I mean, the thing about Green Lantern is it all works on willpower. If you will it, it will be. And Hal Jordan can do basically anything that he wants badly enough in his heart. He can make his ring do it. And he wanted to do this to Hunter Zolomon, and you can see the little Justice League here at the bottom. Wow, this bridge. This was a high budget book. This is me working 3 days on a splash page, really putting my all into this. Jeff every now and then would explain to me that this was important, and I need to really focus. I didn't need to be told this time, because this felt like it was mine. It really felt like it was mine and his, but it just felt like it was really personal, and a chance to express myself and my own ideas about these characters and try to sell them. This could have flopped. Sinestro could have flopped. People could have said, what are you doing to this, beloved old Silver Age villain? I needed to sell this idea of who this character was. Yeah, it looks like they're in Keystone City. That's pretty cool. Really nice shot of Wonder Woman here. I really like this. And Batman behind her. I didn't even notice Superman back there. Superman's lifting up part of the bridge that's fallen down. But this is definitely hot stuff. She grabs Zoom with her lasso right in the mouth, and he just forget it. Goes right through it, and gives her a nice. Looks like he hits her on the way by her. Here we have Vixen, who was a Justice League member at the time. Black Lightning. Good to see all these types. So you got a Red Tornado. These are the kind of lower tier Justice Leaguers. I love drawing Hawk Girl. I love it. Hal looks great here too. And they're asking him about that yellow ring. What about it? Looking for Sinestro. That's nice. Yeah. Look at the spacecraft here. This is EVS tech. Doesn't this, if you can actually see this looks very similar to the spaceship that the Shi'ar were flying in New X-Men 117. I don't want to draw spaceships like anyone else. I do it my own way. Jeff is asking me to create a new character here. Her name is Vode M, and her thing is these kind of strange, kind of spiky twists that her energy shield emotes all around her. Everybody should look different. Jeff wanted a kind of spiderwebby pattern around this character here, Graf Torin. I didn't take that literally. I think Ivan Rice drew him and took that very literally, like he was spinning spider webs in it. No. I don't think it. I don't think they should literally look like spider webs. We don't necessarily know that spiders exist on this guy's world, so I took Jeff to mean that almost like symbolically, like this is an idea for what his energy signature could be, and I came up with this. And here comes Kyle Rayner as Ion. This guy's changed costumes more than Barbra Streisand on tour. I honestly, enough. It was always different, and I was always like, okay, look, this one's fine, this one's fine. Let's just leave it here. And it was always changing. Like nobody could figure out what to do with this character, and I wanted to be there to slow it down. I mean, and just say just settle on something. And this is what I want you to settle on right here. Eventually, we made this happen. I mean, when I came back to Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps Rebirth, okay, so my current project, I said one of the things that I would like to do while I'm here is to take away the White Lantern powers from Kyle Rayner. The White Lantern Corps I'm not fond of. I had nothing to do with it. In our early conversations, Jeff and I kind of discussed that, in response to the Black Lanterns, the answer might be a White Lantern, like one singular Christ-like almost entity, or maybe even Hal, because all the rings merge together and all colors together make white. So maybe that's something to do. But I was already off of Green Lantern when the White Lanterns came about. They asked me to design a symbol for the Corps. I did. I told them what I thought it would look like. They rejected it and did something else. So like I had zero to do with the White Lanterns, and I don't understand them. And I think it's boring. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't be. It's boring. So Kyle being ultimately powerful is boring. The idea that we're struggling to give Kyle his own identity is boring. I don't like that. This is who he is. He's a Green Lantern. He's always been. He's a member of the Corps. Just because Hal's there doesn't mean he shouldn't be there too. He belongs there. So I was able to put him back in his beautifully designed Darryl Banks costume in Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps number 17. I think it was number 17. It's worth looking at. It's a fun book. So yeah, they're trying to stop this little yellow lantern ring, and it just it evades fear. Yeah, trying to hold on to it. It's tough, this yellow lantern ring. And then it's like you look around and you see Sinestro has sent them everywhere. They're zipping all over the universe trying to find hosts. This is the birth of the Sinestro Corps. And here we find that this strange mollusk creature sitting on the side of a meteor has found one, and he's a sniper. He is in, he's almost like a sleeper cell lantern. They tell him Arkillo, a creature called Arkillo tells him to wake up, and he's got the ring on his hand. And we've met Arkillo already. He was in the Green Lantern series, and I think he also got his ring and then was wearing a blue uniform. So we just kind of ignore that. This is a cool shot. Yeah, here's Oa, which looked like it was a planet, but it actually looked like the power battery. And here's that yellow sun, just huge. And they're trying the remains of Hank Henshaw here. You can see he's just, not looking good. um, discussing the 52 parallel universes. Yeah, he's just been messed up. Here he is in better times. It was fun to get to draw some of this old, Final Night and Death of Superman kind of stuff that Dan Jurgens established. Hal Jordan Parallax fighting Hank Henshaw before he was, or after he was, Cyborg Superman. And I just love this. I mean, this is just a Frankenstein's monster kind of. There's more flesh on his face than usual here. It's I don't know. It's just interesting to look at. I like his teeth set in his mouth. We meet Saeed here, who it becomes, I think it's pronounced Saeed. Said, it might be Said. But she becomes Ganthet's partner in creating the Blue Lantern Corps. We'll see that later. And here is our friend Ganthet. I can't tell you, it's really fun. It's really fun to draw Cyborg Superman. And again, this is more stuff that I learned from Frank Whiteley. It's like, let's just, you can do these close-ups forever if you want to, but they don't give you a sense of space. They don't give you a epic kind of feeling. As just pull back. Let's see how big this is. How big is the room that they're in? And you pull back again. They're tiny, just vast space, in this gigantic place that they're in of nothingness as they're trying the remains of Hank Henshaw. And let's keep it that big here. We've captured Superboy Prime. He's in a box. He's peeking out of the box. And this is a trick that I use a lot in Green Lantern. I think I've used it other places too, where Jeff will say, look, he's in a box, but he's in this gigantic science cell kind of room with a miniature sun in it. They're really like watching over him. And so it's like, okay, so how do you do that? How do you show him, inhabiting this big space and still get the feeling of how grand it is? So let's just draw a little inset panel and almost like a word balloon. That little green speck is this. So you can see it's huge. And he's being guarded by a whole army of Green Lanterns. This is not something they're going to take lightly. This gentleman is dangerous. He can't be permitted to escape. So we've got our finest orbiting his prison, like rings around Saturn. And again, we'll do it again. These two guys are, they're far away from him, far away from us. So let's do the same thing here, and let's take a look at them. Two very strange Green Lanterns that I created there. One looks like a bulldog, and the other, God only knows. Great shot of Guy Gardner zooming up, telling them to study their Book of Oa if they have questions about what's going on. He's fun to draw. And here's a fantastic construct of a very beautiful Supergirl. Thank you. Blowing a kiss to this guy, to Superman Prime, Superboy Prime, who thinks it's funny as Guy exits and goes to find Salak working here. And there's some kind of strange Green Lantern creature that's orbiting the walls here. That's like a slug. Oh, this is really good. Yeah. Good shot of Guy here. And then we cut to the mess hall, and this is a pain to draw. I had to do this again recently. One of the smallest panels on the page. It's a small panel, and I'm just going to go all out, and I'm going to pretend I'm Mobius or something. Just get in there and just draw all of these characters. And, you look at this and you go, but it's a small panel. And the figures are small. Well, that's not what takes the time in drawing a panel like this. What takes time is researching each lantern, finding their look, their costumes, and drawing them doing something within this space. That takes forever. Going, I got to come up with someone for back here, who do I use? Who's this? Maybe I'll invent a couple people, I don't know, but let's try to make as many recognizable faces as possible, and they're all behaving towards each other. It's important that they're looking, they're behaving, they're doing things. This is what takes time in drawing. It's not the actual menial physical labor, it's the thought process. And that's what it is. And we'll strip the background out, give myself a break as Hal Jordan gets kind of bullied here, pushed aside by Keehan, and yeah, they're they don't respect Hal, you know, in a sense, and these guys are just like, look, you know, we're not gonna. These guys are kind of bullies. All right, we're just gonna leave them alone. We'll do our own thing over here. Let's not pick a fight. We have a moment for Kyle to kind of get mopey when all of a sudden the Yellow Lantern ring that they were holding escapes and goes crazy in the room and actually targets and captures Kyle Rayner. Look at this. Strips him into like pieces and just transports him away. To where? To where? I don't know. Where's he going? Off of, you know, out through a hole. He busts through the hole of the outer shell of the power battery around Oa, and he is sent out off and then just fizzles out right here. How do you find him? And he reemerges in the antimatter universe, like this, and boy, this is ugly. Great colors here by Moose Bauman. I mean, just what a joy to draw something in ink and then to see it come out like this with just imaginative colors, a great color scheme. Kyle being zipped in through this planet here where it's just the weather is really bad. They're just twisters everywhere. I don't know if you can tell what those are, but they're twisters. They're tornadoes. And you can see, like, he's just trying to hang on. Like, he's using his green to hang on to something here, but the yellow is pulling him. And he's able to stop, and he sees all these dead Quardians here. He's got a yellow ring on his finger. All of them dead. Why? And the ring says, for pleasure. Shut up. And he turns around to see, what is this? And this is a Nazi rally right here. Okay? The echo. To instill fear, fear, fear. To instill order, order, order. That, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now. It's like, you know, a Nuremberg rally. And yeah, and now we see the scope of the problem here in a 2-page spread that took me 10 days. Jeff said, you know, Ethan, this is where you're going to design and create a whole army of Sinestro Corps characters. So they're in this valley, and you can see the power battery. Now, we already saw how big this is because we compare it to Kyle. Kyle is here, little guy. This is the top of the power battery. So we picture, there it is. Okay, this is tremendous. This is a big threat right here. This is the power battery, the top of it. Kyle is a little tiny guy up here. Look at all of these Sinestro Corps characters all the way up here. They're tiny, and then we pull back and we see some of the ones that we've come to know a little bit better. Yeah, so while I'm drawing this book, I'm doing some signings. I live in Florida. This one comic shop owner says, draw me in there. I said, I'll draw you in there if you buy 1,200 copies of this book, which, you know, again, he probably should have done, but he didn't for some reason, and I still drew him in there. He ended up ordering 200 of them instead of 1,200, so I was annoyed, to say the least. And then further, I was like, dude, now these first prints, like these first printings sold out immediately, and then we're selling for $75. So if you had a first printing back then, if this guy had ordered 1,200 instead of just 200, well, you know, he would have had $75,000 worth of comics to sell on the secondary market, but he didn't, and yet he still got put in this book, and that did bother me. We have a bunch of characters that you know. This is, I think Jeff named him Tri-Eye, very He-Man. As Low here, there's Low, there's Slush, a bunch of characters, I can't remember all their names. Here's Crib. Crib was a character that I wanted to use in a sequel to Flash Iron Heights called Fear of Heights, and we talked about it. There was going to be a death row, a death house behind the prison, and the worst of the worst villains were going to be on death row, including this thing called Crib. And Crib was going to be just a strange, deformed old woman who may be an alien, who knows what she was, but she looked a lot like this, except she dressed like a human, many limbs with like, it's like here's an arm and a little arm off of that arm. She was severely deformed, and she would wear a kind of big house dress and with a hood. Her face looked a lot more human than this, and she had this on her back, and she would swallow children. You'd hire her as a nanny, and she'd come and she'd steal your children, she'd eat them. And so she's on death row for like child homicide, and her lawyer was arguing that no, those babies, they're all still alive inside of her. So if you electrocute or murder, put this creature to death, all those babies are going to die. Now let's negotiate. And that was part of the plot of Fear of Heights that never came to be. We just never returned to Flash until Flash Rebirth, and at that point it was too late to do another Wally West story. So ideas like that get recycled, and here's Crib as an alien who steals alien babies. Still a great terrorist character. And we turn sideways, and here is Sinestro. I mean, we've seen gestures like this. He's got his first lieutenant Arquillo next to him, and fists raised in the air. This is all very familiar to people who know about world history, I should say, not American history. Okay, so Kyle's watching all this, and you can see all of the characters down here. He's spying, and he's like, oh, I got to get the Green Lanterns here. So he creates a little ball, and he's trying to find Hal and Guy and John, but he's in another alternate universe. And very Wizard of Oz, Jeff wanted this to happen. Hal Jordan cannot hear you, Kyle, but we can. And this is a moment that should make you just mess your pants. When you're all alone, and Sinestro knows you're there, and his newly assembled, super-powered corps of Yellow Lantern terrorists all fly up from the valley, and we see how many there are, and it's going to be them versus you. We got to find him. We got to find Kyle. We fly up through the hole that he left. We see a bunch of lanterns assisting, looking around, and what's the antimatter universe? So we've got to find that. That's where he is, according to the rings. When suddenly, boom, right through the head, violence, just blood, brains spattered all over Guy Gardner's face. Now, Jeff just wanted a lantern killed with a headshot. I thought, well, if it's a headshot, let's make it a guy that's completely nothing but a head. This is my sense of humor. Sorry. I love this. I love just brain matter all over him. Here's our little alien, Lee Harvey Oswald. Quite a distance away, he shot another one right through the head. And we got a sniper, guys. Let's put a shield up, deflects it, another shot. Hey guys see something the rest don't see yet. We've got incoming. Now here's a second round of Sinestro Corps members, including my girl, Carousel. I've created many powerful female characters in my time, but most of them are villains. And Carousel is probably my favorite. She's being orbited by construct recreations of the alien wolves that created her. She was an original concept for Ghost Rider. I had a Ghost Rider thing I wanted to do. She would be a villain. She would have been a beautiful skeletal kind of nude woman in white flowing lace, very ghostly. And there would be strands of her gown, of her white, almost transparent, ghostly ball gown that were attached to skeleton horses that would orbit her like a carousel, and her name was Carousel. And I never did Ghost Rider. So, recycle. Here she is in her permanent form as an alien, surrounded by a carousel of construct dogs. Carousel, get it? Jeff came up with that. So they are tearing apart the outer shell of you can see the power battery being stripped apart. Here's the real power battery inside in the ground. People are starting to get hurt. Guy goes after Carousel. This is a fun series of tiny little panels here. He meets her. The dog bites Guy, and then Guy ends up getting tackled by her, and then we see her face for the first time. Boo, half of her face has been ripped off, her eyeball has been removed by the dogs that raised her, and they're dead now, so she has just constructs that she makes behave like them. It's a severe case of Stockholm syndrome in a way. It's like these dogs did terrible damage to her, biting her and everything supposedly, and there she is. I think that was the original idea. Yeah, here's Guy. Look, as Ion, he's able to fight off the Sinestro Corps for a good while. He has a giant barbarian Viking character with an axe. This was fun to draw. Kyle uses constructs like this. Kyle thinks in terms of pictures and images, and he will make a barbarian construct. I don't believe Hal Jordan would. I don't think Hal Jordan... It's almost like if you're able to draw, you can make this happen, because this is all visualized. You're creating this. Kyle's an artist. He's able to create this. Is Hal an artist? Not at all. So Hal is more of his constructs are more utilitarian. And here's Abinsur's son, who is a Sinestro Corps member. And Kyle changes. He creates a gigantic Transformer style construct here with a Green Lantern symbol instead of a Transformer symbol, just firing an onslaught Stephen Platt style of bullets. Just the shells coming out. It's fun. Trying to get Abinsur. And these guys are gonna clash. He's like, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not talking about you. Boom. You get a construct battering ram to the back. And this is who you should be afraid of. Good to see you, Kyle. Here's the idiot who hurt you and who scared you, who caused you to feel fear, Sinestro. So he's not afraid of you either. Wow. This is a good face. It's a really good Sinestro face. You don't need to be afraid of me. And then everyone just takes him down. Everyone. You see all these other Sinestro Corps members in the background here. They all look good. Moose colored them back. He pushed them into the shadow, which I wish he hadn't in a way. I wish I could see them more, but he thought that was the right thing to do. Oh, look, Chaselon just shattered by the sniper. That sucks. Hey, you want to meet a sniper? His name's John Stewart. He's a former Marine. He creates a construct sniper rifle. This is tack at its finest. While this guy keeps doing damage, takes a moment, finds him, gotcha, pow. That's all you see, and then just incinerates him. Good job, John. That's my man right there. And here's a chance for me to draw Kilowog. This is our House Poozers leading a strike on the incoming Sinestro Corps squad. We've got Badge back here hitting this dude with a construct acorn. I think you could have done more than that, but I don't know. And I like this. I like Guy Gardner, his jacket coming undone. This is just interesting to look at. As you can see, he just wears the black turtleneck underneath, so he's all black, and he's got the symbol still there. Fighting the dogs. And he kicks one, and I'm sure it went "Arr!" like that when he kicked it. And so Carousel bitch slaps and hard. Guy Gardner, you can tell he felt that. It must have hurt. And the poor thing comes and licks her little face. That's great. This is good stuff. It's not bad. So Guy's got his shirt off now, or his vest off. I like the black turtleneck look. And then we just see, look, this is just a terrific moment where you get to see the cost of war. All of these rings, all of their former Green Lantern wielders have been killed in battle here, and they're all going off to find new owners. Yeah, that ain't good. Not good at all. Whoosh. Yeah, and then even worse. Oh crap. Superboy Prime has escaped. Same shot as before. Here's where the rings came from. Superboy Prime murdered all of the lanterns that were guarding him. All of them. And they're just floating there dead. What do you do? In the meantime, making things worse, Sinestro has captured Ion, Kyle Rayner. He's being held down by these two characters. And here's Sinestro giving him his speech now. Again, I can't help it. I just see him as just a dictator. He's very Hitlerian to me. And it's working for him. It's making me afraid of him. He decides to go ahead and, let me show you. He's like, we've met Parallax. Let me show you what you've got inside you. You may be unaware. He takes a construct scalpel. Great face here. Great. I like this two-fingered pose that he's doing here. Cuts open Ion's heart. Reaches inside. His heart, by the way, reaches inside of his chest. And he pulls out, look at the agony that Kyle's in, pulls out the Ion entity, which turns out looks very much like kind of a deep sea whale kind of a creature here. You get a good shot of Ion here, and it's just this beautiful, primitive creature, and it's got a lantern kind of thing. It looks like a power battery hanging down there. Now these beings have been around since before time. Okay, so they've been around forever, and they're covered with ideas. I mean, this power battery here may be, like, hanging off of its chin, may be the original idea for the shape of the power batteries, and that the Green Lantern Corps actually uses. They may have seen that and built the shape many, many eons ago around that. It's a good shot of Kyle in pain. This took a long time to draw. Really, really good shot here. You meet Despotilus. Despotilus was Moose Bauman's idea. He said, I think there should be a Sinestro Corps virus, a microscopic Sinestro Corps member that makes people ill. And I said, that's a great idea. Jeff liked it too. He used it. Moose never got creator credit for this character, which is a shame, because we laughed at him. We said, it's microscopic. There'll never be an action figure. Yeah, there was an action figure. There was an action figure made of Despotilus, and Moose didn't get any credit for it. But then again, it was made by DC Direct, and generally DC Direct, happens so quickly before contracts are even signed for co-ownership of these characters. Kyle's now naked, and he's reaching for Sinestro, who doesn't care. I told Jeff, look, Sinestro does not smile at us. If he's going to laugh or cackle, like Jeff wanted him to just laugh here at Kyle's pain, I said, I'll do it, but I'm turning him away and I'm shadowing the face. And so I did that. You can see just a shadow of his teeth as he's like, ha ha. I don't want to show that. I don't want to show him laughing like the Joker or anything. He's too, even though he's thoroughly enjoying himself here, he's too hard. He's too arrogant and emotionless. Kyle is now weeping. He is afraid. Yeah, he's made him afraid for the first time. And they're taking Ion away in a box, in a containment, and they're saying, are you afraid? Yeah, you are. And we pull back the scope of all this. Look at the terror of this scene, the fire everywhere it does. It's so Nazi-esque. You're ready now. You're ready. You're going into, because you're feeling fear. You're ready to become a slave to Parallax. And this is just a terrific shot. I'm really proud of the discipline I showed in drawing this. I'm not sure any other artist would have done it this way. Here's just, we're behind him. We're directly behind Kyle. And instead of showing, this is a man giving himself over to fear. And I like it. I did a good job. It's just really, really good. Let's put it that way. It's not what you'd expect from a splash page. You'd expect something more action-packed, and it's subtle. It works. Guys, stop. When you're an artist, you have to make choices about what's best for the story, and not necessarily what you would rather draw. Like, I'd rather draw Kyle just, full figure. We see his face as this guy, this giant thing. This is about possession of a man. You have to decide the theme, and you have to draw that theme. It's important that you do it right. And you just see this creature kind of just shrinking as it enters his chest. It's just, it's taking him over. It's rebuilding him. It's remaking him as the Sinestro Corps looks on. Welcome, Kyle Rayner of Earth, to my Sinestro Corps. Good creepy shot of Sinestro here. this character, which Jeff never named, I don't think. I like him. He's just two guys stitched together there. I used him again recently. Here we go. Parallax Kyle Rayner. Got to redesign this costume here. My feeling is that it's all already there. I don't want to do any costume overhauls. I don't want to change anything. I want to build on what already exists so that Green Lantern fans look at it and go, yes, of course, this makes sense. This is what would happen. I buy this, and it accentuates and adds to all the Green Lantern books I've read before, rather than giving you something brand new that's alien and foreign and it doesn't feel like it's yours or that you're welcome to it. You're welcome to my work. Like, when I draw Green Lantern, I'm welcoming you in because I know what you like. I know what you've seen. I know what you're into. This should have struck you as completely familiar. And it's just Darryl Banks' Kyle Rayner costume mixed with the Hal Jordan Parallax suit that Darryl Banks also combined. So my feeling is that if you gave Darryl Banks the job of designing Kyle Rayner Parallax, he would have done the exact same thing as this. That's my suspicion. That's my hope. Yeah, toothy grin here. That's what Parallax is all about. And now we're going to take you to meet the core. Sinestro's ready to go. And this was the moment that everybody loved. They're fixing Cyborg Superman, putting him back together again. Whoa, surprise. Sinestro Core Superboy Prime. Look at the arrogant look on his face. I mean, it's just, I sit there with a pen and I just get in there and I just do what I do, and I'm just putting lines down and trying things. And every now and then something works really, really well, and it's accidental. I mean, when it works, it's because what I was picturing came out perfectly, and it doesn't always. It did here. Here is Anti-Monitor, which I really struggled with because I can't help but make him look cute. He looks like Cookie Monster to me. I can't. I know he's scary. In this context, I had difficulty making him scary. This is great right here as they kneel. They kneel before the true power behind the Sinestro core here. We're gonna continue with Green Lantern number 21, which I did not draw. This was my only contribution to the Green Lantern Corps War, kicking it off until I came back for 25 to do some establishment. What DC kind of began to see me as was the guy who could start an event. So they started assigning me. They'd say, hey, we're going to do this. Let's get Ethan Van Sciver to draw the first issue so that he can do all the design work. I don't think I'm that great of a designer, frankly, but stuff seems to work. I do put a lot of thought into it, and I try to keep it simple so that artists can redraw it over and over again. I don't believe in overdoing too much. I believe in old-fashioned superheroes in the sense that their costumes need to be simplified, not covered with nonsense. It hurts. I don't know. It hurts your eyes when it's too overworked. All right, so this was it. I mean, from here, everything that followed, the other artists knew what to do. I think I laid down the right mood and theme for this series, and sure enough, surprisingly, I began to be nominated for awards for this. I was given an Eisner nomination for Best Artist. Not, Best One Shot, Best Artist for this. And I was given an Eagle Awards nomination over in England for Best Artist. I won 3 Wizard Fan Awards for this. Best Artist, Best One Shot, Sinestro Corps, Best Ongoing Series, Green Lantern. All centered around this one shot. And, that was really nice. I still have those awards. I lost the Eisner Award to Pia Guerra for her entire run of Why the Last Man, which had just come to an end. And I knew that would happen. I was like, first of all, I can't believe I'm just a superhero. I'm a humble ink and superhero merchant. I'm not trying to create great art. I'm trying to create exciting superhero comics. So to be nominated for an Eisner Award for something as mainstream as this was absolutely incredible, and I was happy just to be there at the dinner and be nominated for that. I'm forever Eisner nominated, which is funny. And yeah, this went on to go through five reprintings, five printings. The first one sold out. They did a second one. They kept changing. I think this might be the second print. Okay, with this, but they kept taking characters from the book, so I wouldn't have to redraw covers. They kept taking images and replacing Sinestro with Superboy Prime and Anti-Monitor. I don't know. Just doing various things here to reprint. It seemed like they would put out a new printing and it would sell out instantaneously, and they would announce another one. I can't tell you how big this was. If you weren't there, you don't know. It's still considered one of the best superhero stories ever told. All said and done, okay? And from here, a lot of opportunities open for me, a lot of them. What also happened was I did interviews, and back then in 2007, and I discussed very frankly. I said, yeah, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I was like, yeah, he's based around Hitler. I just thought that first of all, Nazi symbology, like in fiction, is fairly common. George Lucas used it all through Star Wars. I mean, the stormtroopers, for goodness sakes. And they still use it in the Star Wars movies. It's all based around something that we all see and shudder over, which is footage of Nazi rallies. And even though that happened, 80 years ago, a long time ago, it still haunts us, and it still is so firmly representative of evil, and so on and so forth. So around the same time, it became clear to people that I was a Republican. I didn't want to hide it. I think that I remember in the year, I think 2000, going to a convention, and I had no politics at that point. And I heard a fan talk about another professional, who I won't tell you who it was. You'd be surprised to learn. He was talking about him. He said, I used to like his stuff until I learned that he was a Republican Nazi F word. And I was like, whoa, that's harsh to say. Like, I didn't know politics. I didn't understand why you could say such awful things about someone for belonging to one of two very mainstream American political parties. But at some point after 9/11, I realized I was one too, and it's not something you can help. It's just how you feel. It's how your sense of priorities, and how you feel problems in America are best solved, and et cetera, et cetera. How do you define where your politics come from? You just know them. They're there instinctively, from what you experience in your life, and what you read, and what you believe in. So somebody, by the way, I was in the height of my power at this point now. I'm a very powerful comic book artist now, pretty much, because of just one success after the next. And I didn't mind what people said about me. I didn't care. But someone started a rumor that my little symbol here was a swastika, and it doesn't look anything like a swastika to me, and it isn't a swastika. They were trying to suggest something about me because they knew I was a Republican, and even back in 2007, they were gonna try to suggest some really ugly things about me, because of that, which just at the time seemed fantastic, too crazy to be true. Okay, too crazy to be anything that it just seemed insane. So I had a laugh over it, and my colorist Moose Bauman, made up, like, he's like, well, what if it was? And so he made this kind of mock banner of my symbol, like in a white circle and red background behind it, and it said Van Sciver über alles over it, meaning Van Sciver above all. it used to say Germany above all, in the old Nazi propaganda. So it was basically me, a statement of arrogance, but it was a joke, and I posted it on my Facebook like, isn't that silly? Okay, isn't that funny? But one thing I also was doing was I was creating sketchbooks for people. I was doing conventions, and I started to see that my friends were doing sketchbooks of their sketches and their material that had never seen print before. And you could put one up. It was kind of like the same consistency, like printing quality as an old style coloring book. And I decided I wanted mine to look like radical political pamphlets. And so the language and on the front cover, and then the inside would just be artwork. But I was so interested now in radical politics that I kept seeing around me, that I wanted to kind of mock them. And so I did a Sinestro core sketchbook, and I called it My Struggle. Now, this was a very naughty joke, but it was basically, it was a three ways in one. It was three jokes in one. One, Sinestro's on the cover. People knew that I was basing him around Hitler, so he's on the front cover. It says My Struggle. Secondly, people were saying bad things about me for being a Republican, so I wanted to put my thumb in their eye. And the third reason was because the art therein was some of my very earliest Cyberfrog art that wasn't so good, and it was a progression from that into now. And I wanted to show literally my struggle as an artist, from my self-taught earliest days to now. And art is a struggle. It's a never-ending struggle. It still is. So it was a three-way joke that I thought was naughty. The next one, and it sold out. It's a 1,000-print run. Those books completely sold out. And so the next year I did another one, and I called it Manifesto, and it was red, and the letters were backwards, and it was communist-like, propaganda inside. It was like, workers throw off your chains, or something like that, and the back cover was like the second in a continuing volume of, the rise to power of comic book artist Ethan Van Sciver. It was not, it was communist propaganda. All of these were meant to look like pamphlets, but I only did 2 of them, and I kind of decided that it was too much work to continue with. So the fallout for that was 10 years later, when it was after the election, after the recent election, some very, very bad people decided they wanted to go after me, and they went through 15 years of my social media and found the sketchbook, which I did it. So what? It was meant to be a joke. And then also the Moose Bauman created signature piece, and removed them from context and presented them as though I were a white supremacist today, then and today, and have always been. My friends, it's sad to have to say that in this day and age, to say this aloud. I'm not a white supremacist. I've never been. I find those views repugnant. I find Nazism to be disgusting. I find the idea that in this day and age, when people can just casually accuse each other of that for no reason other than political sorrow, anguish over having lost an election, I think we're going through some rough times. And those accusations spread, and hurt my feelings, which I think they were meant to do. Almost, I think they probably hurt my career, in the sense that I think some people who may have heard them and didn't want to ask any further questions may still believe those things. And I don't know what to say about it, except I think it's disgraceful. And it's something that, now I'm going to spend the rest of my career living down. Maybe 10 years ago, I shouldn't have been so flippant about such a thing. But 10 years ago, it didn't seem to be what it is today, which is a political weapon. So, anyway, that is the fallout from doing this, essentially, and also being proud of who I am, and wanting to make it safe, wanting to make this industry safe for people to say, I don't vote Democrat. There are two parties that you can vote for in this country. That the country seems to be split in half. I don't vote this way. I vote this way. I'm a Republican, and I also love comic books. And my friends, I'm a Republican, and I love comic books. Love them, and I love you all, no matter what your political persuasion is and who you are. If you love comic books, I love you too. And I'm happy. I wake up every single day happy to be able to do what I do. It's not something that you can take for granted. It's not something that you can, take lightly. This is a blessing. It's a blessing to be able to do this. I came from complete and total poverty, like you wouldn't believe the kind of poverty I came from as a kid. To this was my version of hoop dreams. Like, if I can just play basketball good enough, maybe I can become a millionaire. Well, my version of that was if I could just pull myself out of poverty by learning to draw comic books. And I have. And my life is fun. Every day is fun because of what I get to do. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for you. And I'm grateful that you're out there paying attention and buying my comic books. I'm grateful to meet you at conventions, and I'm grateful to sign your books. And I will always be your humble ink and superhero merchant and your friend, Ethan Van Sciver, through good times and bad. All right. So I want to thank you for listening to this extra long commentary. This was an extra special book. It deserved a little extra time. And if you wouldn't mind, please subscribe. Please tell your friends. Please hit that bell. And let's continue growing this community. This page is growing really, really fast. This channel, I guess you're supposed to call it. My channel is growing very, very fast. And it's in no small part due to you and your word of mouth. And again, it's just one more thing for me to be thankful for, this Thanksgiving. So thank you. And I will see you guys again soon with another video. Bye-bye.